What a week it's been for the Premier League champions, and they end it at Stamford Bridge. Big name signings arriving over the past couple of days. Can they cap a fine week or so with 3 points against Chelsea this afternoon? The second weekend of the Premier League season, it's been an incredible one so far. Goals all over the place. Will we see them in West London a little bit later on? Chelsea against Liverpool is a 4:30 kickoff. Very good afternoon. So welcome along to the Matchday Live preview in association with Standard Chartered. So Thiago Alcantara arrives on Friday, Diogo Jota on Saturday, Chelsea away on Sunday. Jason McAteer. It's like the popular follow-up to a Craig David song, isn't it, Jason?
It's all going on, isn't it?
It's extraordinary. What have you made of the last couple of days?
Well, I know it messed me prep up.
Did it?
Because I do start me prep around Tuesday.
You are very well prepared there. We've got formation sheets, we've got an iPad.
Guardian as well. Yeah, that surprised you, didn't it?
Couldn't find the Daily Sport because you went into the newsagents this morning.
Get the team out the sport now. Yeah, it did mess me prep up. I was going along lovely Tuesday, Wednesday, getting ready for the game, getting really excited. I'm really excited about this fixture because obviously what Chelsea have done and the history between Frank and Jürgen and how our start was 4-3 against Leeds. So really looking forward to this. And then Liverpool go and venture into the transfer market and out of the blue signed Jota. I think that was the one everyone was surprised about. But it was great to see Thiago over the line and being done and dusted and everything put to bed. And it kind of stops everyone murmuring around the transfer market and how we should be doing this and how we should be doing that. And it just stops all that now, and now we can get on to business, can't we? We can.
We'll talk more about the pair of them in just a moment, but first let's hear from them both.
When you win, you want to win more, and I think that this club describes what I am as well. So I want to achieve all the goals, win all trophies as possible, and also this kind of family thing that I need, because we have a very close relationship with the club, and I think I will feel this. I will have this feeling with this club as well.
See, obviously, this is one of the best teams in the world, the best at the moment, because obviously they are our world champions. And when we look at the Premier League, you always see Liverpool as one of the biggest team in the country, so it's impossible to say no, and we just want to come and to give our best, and hopefully we can be a good option for Liverpool in the future.
So Jason is here. We can also welcome via Zoom Nigel Spatman, who of course played for both Liverpool and Chelsea. Afternoon to you, Spackers. Let's talk from a midfielder's perspective first. How good a player have Liverpool got themselves here in Thiago Alcantara?
An absolutely top-class player, I have to say. I think he plays the game at his own pace. He always wants the ball. He makes others play, and his passing prowess is absolutely brilliant. Little balls into the front men round the corner, or he can change the play as well, Rob. So I just think it's a wonderful signing, and as Jason rightly said, it's great that we've got it over the line.
You were right in saying, and you touched on the fact that there had been a few murmurs. It was so interesting to hear other people talk about Thiago Alcantara over the course of the weekend. We know Pep is a big admirer, obviously having worked with him before, but even Carlo Ancelotti across the park said how sad he was that he was wearing a red shirt. What do you think that the Premier League, and particularly Liverpool's closest challengers, will have made of this bit of business, or two bits of business, over the last couple of days?
Well, it's a statement, isn't it? We have lost a couple of players. We were slightly light. If we got a couple of injuries, we could see that. And it's just a statement of Liverpool can still do business even in this current climate. With the finances are there. Obviously, there's a lot of clubs who can't go out and spend 70, 80, 90 million. A lot. So, and we were talking about the deals off air there. The likes of Grealish, Pogba, Sancho. They've all fallen victim because of the pandemic. It's a great bit of business. Yet he's only got a year left on his buying contract, and we got him relatively cheap. We would say for, I think it's 20 plus add-ons, might go up to £30 million. But like Nige said, we've got a tremendous player who's got a great attitude. Yet he probably doesn't fit into the kind of business model that we've seen, the recruitment being made by Jürgen and the two Michaels in the past. He is 29, but he brings a wealth of experience. He's a fantastic pro, and he's something a little bit different where you throw him into that midfield, like Nige says, who can find that little bit of a pass. Because as we know now, teams against Liverpool will sit deep, they'll ask questions of Liverpool, they're well organised, they're honest, and you have to break them down. And he's the kind of player that can find them little holes, who can find that key pass, but he can also chip in with a goal, and he can also chip in with an assist.
Nigel, is he Liverpool's best midfielder now?
Wow.
Well, I think it all depends the way that Jürgen is going to play, because Thiago can play in any of those three roles. He can play just a little bit further forward. He can play deep and come and start things off between the two centre-backs as well. But he can also work hard. He's small, but he's aggressive as well. He does like a tackle, I have to tell you. But his all-round game is absolutely superb. But I just think it might be the start of Jürgen trying to change things a little bit so we don't become too predictable against some sides where he can move players around. And that's the same with Jota. With him coming in, he can play on the left normally, but he can play down the right as well. So he's got pace to stretch teams. So they're two wonderful signings.
You can't stand still. I mean, it's great, and we've got a fantastic squad, and we look at it, and we won the Champions League, we won the Premier League. You can't keep going with this set of players the way we play. It's very demanding. They sacrifice a lot. I've said it in the past. You know, they train really hard, 2 sessions a day. It's, you know, the games now are going to be coming thick and fast. I think it's 29 games, I think it is, before Christmas. You know, the squad's going to have to rotate and it's going to have to keep changing. But like Knight says, we've got to evolve as well as not being quite one-dimensional. We have to, you know, mix it up. And yeah, we have got 10 players who can play in that midfield area, but he's the one player that's slightly different from all the rest.
Spackers, in terms of Diogo Jota, I guess one of the questions that everyone asks of Liverpool and have done over maybe even the past 2 seasons is what happens if one of those front three get injured? And touch wood, they've been pretty fit and pretty injury resistant, but he offers a real option now, doesn't he?
He does, and he's only 23. He's got lightning pace as well. He can get you a goal as well, but he's got a great attitude. He loves to press the game, but you can also use him on the counter-attack with his pace. So he's going to keep the others on their toes. That's the big thing. I think he knows that he's not going to go straight into team. He's going to have to bide his time. But Jürgen might change things a little bit around, I feel, and that's why Jota's been brought in. But I think he's a step up on the class of what Origi is, and maybe Jürgen thinks that Brewster's not quite ready yet. Maybe he'll go out on loan again or maybe be sold. But Jota's a fantastic addition to the squad.
I mentioned at the top of the show that it's been an amazing weekend so far in the Premier League. I mean, it wasn't too bad as a starter last weekend against Leeds, was it? And what would Jürgen Klopp have learned about his team, and what would have given him cause for concern over the course of what was a thrilling 90 minutes?
Going forward, I think we played some exceptional stuff. Standout player, obviously, was Salah with his hat-trick. The concern was the 3 goals that we conceded. You know, 2 of them were from the Leeds keeper. They went from back to front. We got caught too deep, as we're seeing here with the goal that they scored. A couple of players, Gomez should have done better. Van Dijk's little lapse of concentration, mix up with Alisson, obviously cost us as well. But yeah, they're the things that you can work on the training ground. But one thing that is a concern, we had 1 clean sheet in 7 or 8 games. You know, that is a cause for concern, having been, you know, so ruthless at the back and not conceding goals. That's been our foundation going forward, because we'll always score goals.
Nigel, it's interesting because it's been a bit of a theme of the opening couple of weekends. I mean, Leeds have had 2 4-3s. We had a 5-2 yesterday. We had a 5-2 again, actually, today at Tottenham. Is that because of a lack of pre-season and a lack of time to coach and drill and work on shape for all managers?
I think it's a combination of all of those. I mean, you've got to get up to speed very quickly to play in the Premier League. Last week we were playing against a Leeds team that is hungry for success, just come up. Always difficult playing against a promoted team, a quality team at that as well. But I think also a lot of the players going away on international duty, you've just not had time to prepare properly, and the travelling takes out of you. But I just felt we got 3 points last week. That was the main thing, but we need to tighten up defensively. And I don't mean just the 2 centre-backs, I mean the midfield protection in front. And I think that's where Fabinho will play today, because we need that protection to the 2 centre-backs.
I brought it up last, well, it was last season, but it was only a couple of weeks
About
ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah. The one big thing that I noticed was the amount of away results that were positive. And again, the season started in the same way. I think 75% of the games were won by the away team.
Yeah, I've been working hard this week, haven't you?
I told you Tuesday I started on this, mate.
There's only so many times you can watch Cash in the Attic, isn't it, if we have to do some work?
And I finished the 4. That's done. Yeah, so, you know, to me, that's just suggesting now that the no crowds is playing a massive part still in this game. Yeah, the teams are now become accustomed to playing in front of empty stadiums, but it's certainly a leveller for the away teams. I mean, to go to, I mean, that game last week for Leeds would have had Leeds fans there. It might have been a different story. You know, obviously Liverpool got over the line, and you could argue, like, if we'd have had home fans, it mightn't have been so tight. But it's certainly playing its part, because there's such adversity in the results, and away teams are getting, you know, more points than what they ever have done.
Having said that, Chelsea unbeaten at Stamford Bridge since February. How will they go today? Let's get down to the bridge and join Peter McDowell.
Sun is out here in London, probably the last throes of the summer we're experiencing now, but the first of the meetings of the top 6 sides, 2 sides who on paper have probably had the most interesting of these transfer windows. 2 sides who come very close now, it seems, to restoring the needle that we used to take for granted when Jose was in the dugout alongside Rafa Benitez. But 2 sides whose expectation grows with every year. We came here almost a year ago to the day. Liverpool, very good value that day for that 2-1 win over Chelsea, but the landscape was very different then. It was a new manager taking over a Chelsea side that he had to steady the ship, but with the money that he's spent and the opportunity that he's been given, they demand success, and pretty promptly you would imagine that Chelsea should be up there challenging the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City with the season ahead. We will wait and see on that one. The big course of debate, of course, is over Thiago Alcantara, and if you judge the fact that Jürgen Klopp said last week that with just 5 training sessions Jordan Henderson had done amazingly well to be included in that starting 11, you would be fairly certain that Thiago would be a pretty big gamble to start this game this afternoon. But he has travelled and might just be in that Liverpool squad. We'll confirm all of that for you at around about 3:30 or dead on 3:30 when those teams come out. Here's a word or two from these 2 managers.
Last year we played Chelsea pretty often, pretty early then in the season, and all the games were really difficult. And that's what I expect first and foremost. And the last game, or the first game against Brighton, was now a game how it looks when you play Brighton. Especially, I'm not sure, but when you play Brighton, we all suffer because they just play good football, and you have to be decisive in the key moments. And that was the story of the game pretty much.
I don't feel like it's a game making a statement. I think it's second game into the season. We have 1 win, which was a hard-fought win at Brighton, in a game where we were probably in pre-season zone in terms of our fitness because of the situation of how we haven't had players or quarantines or international breaks. So now we take on what were the best team in the country last season, and it's a nice challenge for us to go head-to-head with them. I think we played pretty well head-to-head with them last year. Maybe not always getting the right result we felt we deserved. So it's a challenge for us to try and get 3 points. It's simple as that against a very good opposition.
Because let's talk about your former club, or the other of your former clubs then in Chelsea. Give me an answer, short term and long term, who are the most important signings that Chelsea have made?
I think they've made some important signings. I think the one now is Werner. I think he's different to all the other strikers that Chelsea have. He's got pace. He can score goals out of nothing. He can score a goal with the ball over the top using his pace. He can get a goal from the 6-yard box. I think he's their most important player, is signing. I think going forward, I think they need to get some of their players back, like Pulisic, who had a great end to the season, who's out injured at the moment. But for Chelsea, I still feel defensively they're not as strong as what Liverpool are. And I think if you want to go on and win a championship and compete for a championship, you've got to be stronger defensively, and they're not.
To answer that question, because I thought it was a really good question. It's obviously why you get paid the big bucks.
Absolutely.
I think I agree with Nige. I think Werner, for goals, obviously, and what he comes with. I mean, his record is phenomenal. It's 125 games. I think he scored 83, 84 goals, I think, which is a phenomenal return.
Just off the top of your head, that. You're not look that up.
I didn't even look that up. Yeah. That's just it. I was already in there. I think Thiago Silva is a fantastic signing. I think to have around that young dressing room, someone of that experience. But also what it does, I think Frank last season was almost pushed upon playing 3 at the back to sort of accommodate Alonso and Azpilicueta. I think he would love to play 4 at the back. I think now what Thiago Silva does is slot him back into that back 4, because now he has 4 to pick from. Now I think slot him back into that back 4 with Rudiger. He can play a flat back 4, but also gets Kante back in his favourite position, which is more central, looking after them front 3. And I think now, if you bring the keeper in from Rennes, I think that'll be the final piece of the jigsaw, and he'll have a lovely little sort of diamond shape. You know, he'll have the two centre-halves, he'll have Kante sitting in front, and hopefully for Frank, he'll be thinking he has a top-class keeper coming for Kepa, who makes too many mistakes for me. But I just think it just changes everything up for Frank, gives him so many options, Thiago Silva signing. And
Jason's answer, Nigel, was what I was almost sort of alluding to, and would be my answer if anyone cared about my opinion, which obviously they don't. But the point would be that Thiago Silva coming in, when you watch the game against Brighton on Monday, and it was a back four of Reece James, Alonso, Zuma, Christensen, they conceded as many goals away from home last season as any other team in the Premier League. And you could sort of see why, even though they won the game against Brighton on Monday, they've got to sort that out.
Yeah, and Jason's absolutely right. That's why Frank played a back three at times. But Thiago Silva isn't fit at the moment. Rudiger was on the bench, who's had a bit of a fallout with Frank. I wonder if he'd be back today. Azpilicueta was on the bench as well. I just think Christensen's not solid enough. Zuma's not great on the ball. Chilwell, who's out injured as well at left back, we paid 50 million for. At the moment, I just think that Frank going forward's got a good, strong squad, but those players aren't fit at the moment. And most probably his most influential player at Brighton the other last week was Jorginho, who's in the team alongside Kante, but he's the one making them play, slowing it down, speeding it up. But Werner was the one who played well. And we haven't even mentioned Kai Havertz yet and where he fits into the team. I mean, I do a lot of the German football, as you know. I think he's going to be a wonderful player. But I just wonder if the pace of the Premier League early on will really catch him out, because he likes to play at his own tempo. But he will be a very good player.
I think we need to just wait for Chelsea to mature. I think that's Frank. I don't think they're looking at it now, and even with the outlay of the money that they've brought and all the players they brought in, they're expecting to go and blow everyone away and win the Premier League. I think it's a process. You know, I think the whole business model's changed from this having a manager for 2 years at Chelsea and then sack him and get someone else in and win something. It's worked to an extent because it's brought them success, but I think Roman Abramovich is maybe taking a step back. I don't think he'd want to sack Frank really early. I think you want to give him every opportunity to mature and become this manager we all think he's going to become with this team that he's put together. So I think 18 months' time, I think you're looking at this team, like Nigel said, with Chilwell firmly at left back, Thiago Silva and maybe Rudiger, maybe another centre-half coming in a year's time. But then you've got Reece James, the keeper, and you've got all the pieces there. It just needs to mature and find its legs. Havertz and Ziyech, they need time to bed in. Werner might need a little bit of time because of the culture and the different, standard that he's playing at. There's lots of ifs and buts, and I think at Brighton the performance kind of showed that. It was a bit of a stop-start, although only two of the signings played, the new signings played. I still think it's a work in progress, Chelsea, and I think for Liverpool it's a good time to play them today. Yeah, it should be a cracking game this afternoon. Spackers, thank you very much indeed. Thank you as well for now. Jason, we are back on air on TV and on LFC TV Go as well from 3:30 this afternoon. All the team news from down at the bridge, interviews from the two new boys as well, and of course Chelsea against Liverpool from 4:30. We'll see you a little bit later on. Bye for now.